Hello, good evening. Sorry, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So we'll just be waiting for the rest. We'll give them some time to join in.
Please, how many minutes will we give for those people that have not come? Because most of us have something to do by 9 or other time.
10 minutes or five. 10. The meeting will last for close to an hour, about 45 minutes, 1 hour. Yeah. We have 3 more minutes to wait for them. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm really glad to have us all here. So we're supposed to have our last class or our class for week 3 last week, but then it didn't hold because the turn up was really poor. Um, but then this week we'll be going a bit further into something a bit more complicated. So we'll be creating a simple login page. Um, Over time, we'll get to see how to use Firebase. By next week, we'll work on the responsiveness and also get to use Git commands to push to GitHub. So, yes, let me share my screen now. Okay, okay. Sorry, my mic was off. So the first thing we'll do is to open Visual Studio Code and
Um,
then create a folder, or rather open a folder. And then I already have a folder here for projects. Then I'll create a new folder, name it login page,
sorry, you stopped
create
sharing your screen.
and open.
Sorry, Kauna.
The first thing we'll do to
Hello, Kauna.
okay, no problem.
Hello.
Sorry about that. Sorry
Hi-
about that.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yes, sorry, I can hear you. Sorry about that. I'm trying to share. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
No, we can't see it.
No,
It's not showing.
Hello, can you see my screen?
no, we cannot.
It's not showing. Okay, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
We still can't. I can't.
Hello, can you see my screen?
No, I
Yeah,
cannot.
we can see the screen with your picture alone.
No, we are not seeing.
Okay, okay. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, yes, we can see it. We can see it now.
Okay, okay. So, can you see the Visual Code text editor? Hello?
Yes, we can see your screen. We
Okay,
can
can
hear
you
you.
okay, okay, can you see the text editor?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the first thing we'll do, sorry, let me cancel it. We'll come here, create a new file, name it index.html. Come here, create a new file, name it south.css. In our index.html, um, for better use and efficiency of our time, we'll just press Control or Alt exclamation, press Enter, and then it basically gives us a template to work with. So we'll come to the body of this page, create a div, and then in this div, we'll give it a class of login because we are creating a simple login page. And then inside this same div, we'll create another div and then call it div, and then give it a class of login content. Inside login content, um, we want to have a page where we have the image by the side. So we create a div here. What we'll do is that we'll give it a class name, a class of login image. Sorry about that, image. And then under here, we'll have our image, and then we'll have our src, which will basically um link our image to where it is in the folder. And then for now we don't have an image, and then we give it an alt tag. The reason why we use alt tags is because for better use of SEOs on our web page, and for better ranking and accessibility too. So let's just say our alt will give it a simple login page, and then close it. So now we already see that we have our image in a container, but then we still want to have another div where we have our forms. So beneath this div, we'll have another div class, another div where we give it a class name or a class. Sorry, class names are for React. Give it a class of login forms, basically. And then under login forms, we'll have our form action. So name it form action. Um, is equal to an empty tag. And then we'll give it a class of login register. And then we'll give it an ID of login icon. Under our form action, or under our forms, where we basically want to have our names, our email addresses, and our passwords, we'll have a H1 class. So basically, our H1s are, I would say, like sizes of what, yeah, somewhat like sizes of what our text or fonts look like. So our highest H1, our highest, sorry, text will be for H1, while the lowest will be for H6 rather. So for our H1 class, we'll give it a class of login title, because this is where we want our title to be. And then in between where we have our opening tag for H1 and closing tag for H1, we'll have our sign in. So this will be sign in. And then under this, we'll have a div with a class of um let's say login box. And then under this, um we'll have our icon, basically. So this will be our icon. Our icon have an iClass of, so you can basically um use Google icons. I can't remember the specific name exactly, but then it basically gives you a code rather for for the specific icons. And then we'll have this. and then we have our inputs. So we'll say that's our input type. So basically, what we want it to be imputed as. So let it be imputed as a text. Let our placeholder, that's for those of us who have used Google before or maybe signed up to forms, we'll basically see that there's something in between the box where it tells you, okay, this is where you write your name, this is where you write your email, or this is where you write your username. So for our placeholder, it will basically have a username. So this is where we basically get to write our username, and then we'll have a class. So basically, classes enables us to have a better use of styling. So we basically get to style um our our templates, our HTML templates. Basically makes it easier for us. So we'll have our class, and then our class will have login inputs as the class, and then we get to close down. So we'll also have another login box. But then for the login box this time around, it will be for our password. So okay. So let me just copy and paste for better efficiency of our time. Control V. So this login box will have box okay. Pick the oh shit. Okay. Sorry about that. So this login box will basically be um for the icon. So this time around it will be log out, and then we'll get to have our text, our input type. Sorry, our input. The last time we checked, we wanted our input type to be a text. Sorry, but this time around, our input type will be a password, and then for our placeholder, instead of username this time around, it will be password, and then we get to give it a class of login input. So that's it. Um, so under this, we'll get to have a, how do I describe this now? It's basically a link. Yes, yes, a link where we get to have our ahref. Um, and then sorry. Oh shit. Um, basically links us to, oh god, it basically links us to wherever we want it to link to, and then we get to have our class, um and then we name it login forgot, because here we want it to um have an input or a link where it basically refers us, maybe if we've forgotten our password, or maybe we want to reset our password. So we get to have forget password in between the tag, sorry, a password, and then we get to have the same thing here. Sorry. Um, let's see. Control V. Here it will be our login button, and then under login button, we get to have sign in. Okay. Sorry, can you all hear me? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh
Yeah, we
yes,
can
we
hear
can
you.
Yes,
hear
I
you.
can.
Okay. Okay. So, um, we want to run our code, but then if you want to run your code, you can use terminal and then you get to run the active file. But then we don't want this to happen because it will basically mean we keep on running back and forth. So what we'll do is that we'll just open a live server. So for those of us that were in our first class, we or our second class, sorry, we got to talk about an extension called live server where you basically install it. So this is what it looks like. When you install it, you get to, press can I remember what it is? Right click, sorry, on your touchpad, and then open live server, and then it will basically, yes, open a live server. So if you can see, this is basically what we've worked on. This is what it looks like. We have our input type, our text. This is what our icon looks like. The icon we used. This is password. As we can see, we have a placeholder of password. This was the H1 we used. Um, for our href, we got to create a link for forgot password and for signing. So we basically go back to our sorry, yeah, go back to our code, and then under this we'll get to create a div. So a div, and then under this div we'll give it a span, and then we'll give it a class, and this class will have something called a login account, and then we get to close this tag. So under this we'll now say, okay, maybe you want to sign in or you want to sign up. Do you have an account? Then you get to type in between the span class, the span tag, that's the opening tag and the closing tag. We get to write, oh no, I don't have an account. So write don't have an account with a question mark. So this person gets to respond. When we get into JavaScript proper, we'll get to see how to manipulate this so that it basically becomes really, really responsive, not just um, user friendly with the UI. So we got to name this um, span class, and then give it a class of login sign in. We'll also give it an ID, and this ID will have something called sign up. So let's say, oh, you don't have an account, or I don't have an account. So we'll just say, okay, since you don't have an account, then sign up, and then that will be it. Okay, so we'll get to create another form where we basically have um a form where we get to fill in our username and our email. So we'd say, okay, let's create another form then where you get to sign up with your email and their username also. So it's basically still the same thing. Um, form action, um, give it as an empty tag, give it a class of login create, and login create none, and then we'll give this an ID of login of login up. Let's say, let's just use that, and then under this we'll get to create a h1 tag. So for our h1 we get to have a class, and this class will be uh login title, basically. And then under this login title, we can say, okay, maybe you don't have an account. Since you don't have an account, create um account, create account. And then under this, we get to have another div, and then under div, we'll give it a class of login box. And then under this, we also have our icons. Well, basically, it's a class of bx user login icon. And then we get to close this. And then for these, we also get to have an input tag. And then what should be the type? Okay, say the type. Let it be a text. Let our placeholder be username. Sorry about that. Username. But then let our class be a login input where user basically just gets to input. Under this div, as we can see, for our H1, because we want our H1 to basically um encapsulate sort of all these things, we get to have it above. So it's basically the first thing under the form. And then inside this div where we have our login box, we get to have our icon and then our input, and then we get to have a closing tag. For those of us who have been programmers for some time or who have coded some things for some time, we get to know that it's quite frustrating sometimes when you forget to close a tag. So it's better practice to sort of revisit your code and also check it basically so you don't miss anything and get frustrated at the end of the day. So we get to have our class, and then for this class, um, we name it bx user, basically the same thing. User, sorry, oh, sorry, not user. And then this basically becomes login icon. And then close the tag. Next thing, we still have our input. Sorry, I'll just copy and paste for better use of our time. For this, once we want our input type to be a text, but this time around, we want our placeholder to be an email. And then we'll get to close the div. The same thing, we get to have, and sorry. We get to have another div open. Sorry, I just copy and paste again for better use of our time. And then for our placeholder, we want it to be password. Yeah. And then um yeah, basically the same thing. So we get to create our ahref, um give it as that redirect pass login button, and then same thing, sign up. And then under this, um we get to create another span basically. So we'll just say, okay, let's have another div where we have a span. Sorry, span with a class or um, login account, and then let's say they want to log in, but then we'll get to ask, okay, do you already have an account? And then if the answer is yes, or let's say if the answer is no, they get to go back and sign up. But then if the answer is, oh yes, I already have an account, we get to copy and paste, sorry, for better use of our time. And then we'll say, okay, this time around, we want you to sign in. For here, for our class, we basically get to have login, sign up. Okay, so the next thing we want is we want to have um our social. So basically um use our social icons. So we get to create another div for basically our social icons and then close it. But then under this div, we get to give it a class, and this class will name it login social. And then for login social, it basically gets to have an A tag with an href, and then sorry, for better use of the href, you basically get to paste the link. So basically, when we get to JavaScript, we'll basically get to have a better understanding of navigating, you know, and making it more responsive. So for our class, basically give it a class name of login social, but then we want it to be a social icon. Then we get to close the tag. But then for our social icon, we want it to have an icon. It's an I class. So we'll give it an I class. Um, sorry, sorry. BXBXL Facebook. So this is basically our Facebook icon. And then we get to close it. Um, sorry. We still get. So for this, we still get to do the same thing. So we'll just copy and paste for better use of our time. Um, sorry, yeah, there's an error. Social. Okay, so our login social icon. But then for this, we'll have um speaker. Okay, the next thing, copy and paste. For this, we'll have Google. So let's go back to our live server and see what it basically looks like. So let's refresh. Okay, so you can basically see for our sign in, we get to have a username, a password. For our create account, we get to have a username, an email, a password, and then we get to see, okay, do you have an account? Then you get to sign in. Don't have an account, you get to sign up. So that's basically it. Sorry about that. Okay. Yes. So come to the end of our HTML. Next thing we'll get to style our CSS, but then we haven't linked our CSS file, so we basically get to do it by um let's say yes sorry link well give us style okay style shift, and then we get to have our href, which will basically link us to our um styles of CSS. Then we get to close this. So we've come to the end of our HTML, which is basically a template. Now we get to style um our CSS, our page using CSS. So we give it a root. So what root basically does is that it helps us set what we are going to use. So we can set maybe the color, or the font family, or the font size. So as we tag along, we'll get to understand basically what it does. So let's say, okay, for our roots, we want it to have certain colors. So we'll come here, and then there's something called comments. So in CSS, you get to comment like this. I don't know if you can see my screen. So you get to comment, and then I did this wrong. Get to comments. You can just say this is for our colors. And then under colors, we get to have first color. We want our first color to have sorry. Okay. We want our first color to have this color of 90 or BFF. And then it's purple. And then we also want first color. Sorry. First color that is dark. We want it to have 23004D, which is a darker shade of purple. And then for, I don't know why I keep on doing this. First color, okay, this will be a lighter shade of purple. And then get to have two, three, sorry, A49 EAC. Yes, which is a lighter shade of purple. And then we get to have not the lightest, but the lighter shade for this color that we are using. And then we call lighten. And then we get to name it um F sorry F2 F2 F2. Yeah. Which is basically not white but a shade of white. And then we get to have another comment here. Sorry. We get to comment here where we say, okay, This should be for our typography and our font. So um, for typography and font, we get to have our body with a font. We want it to be open sans, but then it should be sans serif. Um, if you really want to understand better use of fonts, I would advise you go to just Google, just type in Google fonts, and then you get to see different type of fonts and how to use them. I know for better use of it, you get to copy the link and then you paste it in your HTML file. So you basically optimize and use it much more better. So for our H1 font size, we want it to be 1.5 rem, and then for our normal font size, let's name this normal font size. Let's say that is 9.38 rem. Sorry, not 9 points. 0.983 rem basically. And then for our small font size, um, want this to be 0.813 rem. That's basically it. Okay, so we get to work with responsiveness. So let's go back to our okay. This won't work yet. Um, so we get to work with the responsiveness. That we set the media screen. So say, oh, media screen. Then we'll set um the minimum width, which is in short min width. Let's set this 768 pixel, and then we get to have our roots inside the media screen. And then we get to have normal font size. Let's this be 1 rem, and then we get to have small font size, and let this be 0.875. That basically is. And then we get to um style our body. So we say our body, sorry, let's go back to our HTML and see. Okay, okay. We'll go back and say let our body have a margin of 0, but then let's also have a padding of 0, and also let the font family be. So the tricky part of this is that we have already set our roots. So this basically gives us what to work with. So we'll come back here, and then instead of typing, oh, we want our font family to be open sans serif, we'll just type var, and then basically get to select, okay, what do we want? We want body fonts. But then if you go back here, you can see that our body font is Open Sans Serif. So it just basically gives us a better optimization of working with our code. Then we come here, we get to type font size, same variable var, get to name it normal font size. This is basically easier than getting to type numbers, um, getting to retype and retype and retype, and it just becomes exhausting. So we have our font size, then we get to have our color, um, the same var. Which color do we want? So we just basically come here and we just said, oh, let the first color be dark, and then that's it. You can see how easy it is. So we get to name our H1. And then we say, oh, let the H1 have a margin of 0. And then next, our A tag. So we get to style our A tag. And then we say, oh, let the text decoration be none. So I'll basically advise us to go back and revisit CSS and have a better understanding of CSS. As we progress, we'll get to work with CSS frameworks, which is like Bootstrap, SCSS, and also Tailwind. Um, we have our max width. So let's say, oh, we want for our image tag. We say, oh, we want our maximum width, which is basically our max width is basically the length. So if you can see my screen from here to here, it's basically called the width. That's from the beginning of my screen to the end of my screen. But then from here to here, it's basically called that's from my right hand side where my keyboard is showing from here to here is basically the height. So we want our width, that's the maximum width from the beginning of the screen to the end of the screen, to be 100%. We also want our height to be auto, so it should, work responsibly with the width also. We have want our display to be block. So block simply a display block simply means a block, a square in simple terms. And then we get to have our login. So this is basically a comment for our login. Then we say, oh, for login, try login and say, let login have a display of grid. But then let also grid templates and the columns be 100%. Let the height be 100 ph. Let's margin left. Let it be 1.6. That's basically number. Then we get to have our login content. Our login contents, we want the display to be great. So, and then we have login, image. Let our login image have a justify self. So basically, the center, and then we get to have login image. Yes. to have a width of 310 pixels and a margin top, that's the top margin, to be 1.5 rem. And then our login forms, we basically wanted to have a position of relative, and then we wanted to have a height of 368 pixels. So um, for better use of our code, we'll get to do something very tricky, but not so tricky. So we get to have login register. Okay, sorry, spelling is wrong. Login register. But then we also want login content. Sorry, login create. So we just basically get to style them at the same time, if that makes sense, which I think it does. So we get to have our position. Um, Position should be absolute, and then we get to have our bottom, um, which is 1 rem. We also get to have our width, which is 100%. So, like I said earlier, the length of the screen from the beginning of the screen to the end of the screen is basically the width 100%. And then we get to use background color. So we still use var, and then we set our background color to first color lighten, which is a very very light shade of purple. And then we get to have our padding. Um, our padding will be 2 rem, top and bottom, and then 1 rem left and right. Get to have our border radius, which is 1 rem. Text align, which basically our text line to the center. Um, we get to have our box shadow. This is basically in simple terms just the shadow of the box. There's nothing complicated about it. So we say, okay, let's have 0 for the top, 8 for right, 20 pixels for left, and then RGBA. Let this be 35. So this is just another way of using colors. Basically, there's nothing really complicated about it. Um, 77. Then here, let's have points 2. Okay, animation. I think in our last class we talked animations. So let's have our animation duration. So how long should the animation last for? So let's say, okay, our animation should last for zero point 0.4 seconds, which is 0.4 seconds. And then our animation name should be, we should animate the login. That's basically it. Next, we have our login title. I'm so sorry this is taking so long, but it's just what we have to work with. Login title, and then we have our font size. For font size, we still use var. What should we use? H1. So we'll say let's use our H1, which is basically the largest font size. Um, let's have our margin bottom. Margin bottom 2M. So basically 2M. Next, we have our login box. Login box. Yes. I would say let our login box have a display of grid, a grid template of columns. So yeah, columns. Sorry. Grid templates, columns. Yeah, and then let's see. Let it have max content. Now we'll say since it basically has a column, let it also have a column gap of zero point 0.5 rem, 0.5 rem, and then let it also have a padding. So say our padding should have 1 point, sorry, yeah, 1 point, sorry about that, 1.125 rem. So this is, so 1.125 rem is basically for top and bottom, and then we get to have 1 rem, which is for left and right. Yeah. And then we get to have sorry. Yeah. We get to have background. Um sorry, let me see. Background color. Let our background color be white, which is FFF. Yeah, white. And then let our margin top. Let us have 1 rem. Radius be zero point 0.5 rem, which is basically 0.5 rem. Next, now we get to style our login icon. So we get to see login icon, um, login icon. Let me see. Well, let us have a font size of 1.5 rem. But then let it also have a color of which is. So let's go back a bit and see what our page looks like. We can already see purple. We can already see, the width, what it basically looks like. Let me expand. So you can basically see the width, you can see everything, how it looks. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so we have our login icon. The next thing would be our input. So yes, what's our text input should be like? Yes, yeah. So we get to see login inputs uh, should have a border, but then we want to set the border to be none. The next thing we'll say, oh, let us have an outline. So an outline basically outlines inputs, but then let this inputs also be none. Next we'll say our font size. Now we'll say, oh, let us have a var of, should it be H1? No, we'll say, okay, let it be a normal font size then. Then it basically becomes a normal font size. We basically have our font weights. So for those of us who have some experience typing, we know that there's something called bold, where it gets to make the text bolder. If that makes sense. But then if you're coding basically, you get to see that, not too thick, but a bit thick. Let our color have var, but then let this variable show, let it be our first color, but let it be the dark shade of purple. Um, Next we get to have login inputs. Sorry, login inputs. But then this is the tricky part of it. We want it to be login inputs, but then we also want to style the placeholder. So we get to style it um, as a child like this. And I would say, oh, let this be the placeholder. And then get to have our font size with a var. We get to have font family. So from our roots, we already set the font family. So we'll just say, oh, let the font family be var. Uh, Let it be the body font. Yes. So that's it. Sorry. Next, we'll say let the color. Basically, we'll say color var. From our roots, basically, we get to have color. We'll say first color light. That's basically the light shade, but not the lighter shade of purple. Now we get to style our forgot. So basically, the forgot text. So basically just want to display to the block. Let it just be in a block format. So basically, what a block looks like is square. Our width, um, our width. Let it, take the maximum it can take, which is the max content. Our margin left, let our margin left be auto. Let it just, go with the flow sort of. Margin top, we say, oh, let our margin top be 5 rand. Very okay. What next? Okay, sorry. 0.5 rem. Next we'll say, oh, let the font size. Let it also use the variable from our root. Let's have the small font size. So it's basically set to the font the smallest font size. Next we have our color. Um, our variable should be set to the first color. First color like next we can button. Let our login button have a display, but then let the display be block. So basically a block format. Let the padding be 1 rem. Also let the margin. So basically, um, we can see that for 2 rem, so 2 rem basically represents top and bottom. While 0 basically represents left and right, which is set to the variable, but then it should just be first color, which is purple. Have our color. Our font width, how thick or how bold should be 600 still. Um, our text align. Let our text align to the center. Next, let our border radius. So, border radius basically represents the Let me go back to the life. So our border radius basically represents this curve. If you can see my what's it called, cursor, basically represents this curve towards the edge. So how curved, or how, yeah, how curved should it be basically? So let's set our border radius to be um zero point 0.5 mm. Next, our transition. When we get to JavaScript, we basically get to understand what the animation and everything works, how it works. Sorry. Next, our login button. Our login button. We want it to hover, so just set hover. And then let's say when it hovers around, when let me go back. When we get to hover around this sign up page or login page, what color should it basically show? So say, oh, let it have a background color of the variable set to the darkest color. Okay, we are almost done. So we get to have our login account. Sorry, login account. So we basically get to style our login account at the same time. Different meanings, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, so let me try to explain. So we already have, so these are we, so instead of just signing them separately, we get to sign them up. We get to, sorry, instead of styling them separately, we get to style them as a group. Let the font will be 600. Sorry, will be the smallest font size. And then get to have login accounts. Let it have a color of the variable, send the variable to the font, sorry, the darkest also. Dark. Okay, almost done. I know I've been saying I'm almost done, but sorry, it's almost done. um, we get to have our login. Have a variable set to first color, which is basically purple. But then it should also have a cursor of, so basically means when we come, so if you can see my cursor, then it's basically on the screen. It's just basically a black, like a hand, like a hand, if you can see it. So uh, um, margin of 2 rem, and then for our login social icon, basically get to have a font size with a variable, sorry, font size of 1.5 rem, with the color set to a variable of darker shade, and then we get to have a margin top and bottom, left and right. That's basically it. So if we come here, we can basically see there's a lot of errors, not quite responsive. Sorry.
Sorry, am I the only one who is not hearing anything or she's muted?
I think for now she's muted. I thought it's network issue from my side. It's a network issue.
Okay, sorry about that. I think my network is a bit bad, but let me share my screen. I know our time is fast spent, so I'll just get to share the code, GitHub code, and then if you have any questions, you can basically reach out to me. But then the most important thing here is that we get to understand how we basically resulted to all this. Um, for now, our page is not responsive. Nothing is basically happening to it. So in our next class, um, we'll get to work more on the page, work on the responsiveness, and get to talk about using Bootstrap and also push into our GitHub page using GitHub. Do we have any questions? Sorry, my network is seizing. Sorry about that. But then, do we have any questions? Anything we are lost on?
evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for taking your time to do this. My question is that for the colors, do we really need um color codes? Is it not possible for us to just type in the colors we need?
Oh no, 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 no. You can just type the color, but
Yeah.
then for specificity, so you want it to be specific. Maybe you want it to be a certain shade of purple. You get to, let's say, type on your keyboard on your CSS file. You get to type, maybe you want white, and then using your arrow. Sorry, let me show you what it might look like. Sorry, I'll get
Okay.
my okay. So I think there should also be apps or websites that basically work with colors. So let's say we want our color to be white. So let's just say white. So when we click on white, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you can see RGB, all that. So we want it to be a
Yeah.
certain shade. Just come here, you know, adjust, go here, adjust a bit, click here. Now you can see it's still the same shade, but in a different format. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is basically just for specificity, and when you get to read more on how to use the color and the color hues and everything, you basically get to understand reasons behind it. So that's it. There's really nothing big about it.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any more questions? Okay. Okay. Since we don't have any more questions, I would like to apologize for taking our time. We'll get to, work on the timing. I know I've been saying work on the timing, but sincerely, it's not our fault really. But then we'll get to work on the timing. We'll also get to talk more on how to use CSS, how to make our site or our page responsive. By next week, we'll also get to talk about CSS frameworks and also using Git commands also. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending this class. We sincerely appreciate it. We look forward to having us, in the next classes. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of the meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, one last thing. Please, let's get to practice. Practice makes perfect. Let's get to practice on our own. Let's not just rely on the classes. Practicing really helps us, we get to better our skills. My greatest joy is that all of you will be better than me and get remote jobs and,
Amen.
be really perfect. Yes, front end. So that's really my greatest joy. So please let's get to practice more, work with codes, share codes. I know we shared our GitHub pages. Let's get to push our codes also. It might not be perfect, but let's start from somewhere. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of the class. Thank you sincerely.
Thank you and good night.
Okay, good night. Good night, everyone.